This is the great conflict that all of humanity must struggle with. Will I trust and obey God's holy word, or will I just continue going the way that I am, thinking I am the greatest authority in the matters concerning my life? And at the core of this problem is pride and a lack of faith in God. But at the same time, there is an idolatrous heart that must be torn down from its pedestal. An idolatrous heart describes when a person trusts in something more than God. When a person trusts in more what they think rather than obeying the voice of God. God tries to reach each person through the Bible, evangelical preachers, the Holy Spirit, and through His creation in other ways also. But when a person keeps elevating their own way of thinking above what God says, and they do not do what He commands, they then have an idolatrous heart. You can't get to heaven this way. If a person wants to remain independent from God and instead trust in their own righteousness instead of heeding the commandments of Christ, they will find themselves in hell one day with the devil and his demons right by their side. Until a person begins to see Jesus, they will not see with deep detestation and abhorrence how empty they are and how they were deceived into believing these lies and how these sins have taken their heart away. They have gone after idols. Isaiah chapter 64, verse 6. But we are all like an unclean thing, and all of our righteousness are like filthy rags. We all fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. The sin that lurks in our hearts, if not diligently dealt with on a moment-by-moment basis, will take our hearts away from the oneness with God. Faith in God is the opposite of an idolatrous heart. A person who has conscientiously come to realize that all of their efforts, deeds, and learning which they have performed is meaningless without knowing God personally. But without faith, it's impossible to please Him. For he who comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. The great conflict faces us all when we have to decide what we will do when we hear the voice of God. Will we turn back to ourselves and protect our idol of self, our possessions, or the false teaching with which we once deceived our hearts with? Or will we fall in reverence before the Lord at the sound of His voice? And will we give ourselves wholly over to Him and do what His word commands? Where do you stand today amongst the great conflict?